Max Verstappen celebrating his first world title after the most dramatic of finishes to the season in Abu Dhabi. And for more on this, we can speak to Paul de Resta now. Paul, like me, you were probably watching yesterday and thinking, oh, it's a bit of an anticlimax to the season. And then 10 laps to go, Nicholas Latifi throws a spanner in the works for everyone.
Listen, it kept you on the edge of your seat all the way through the whole Grand Prix, right from the first lap, how controversial it was with that move that Max put on Lewis. And then for it to boil down to a safety car right at the very end and orchestrate itself for that and a grandstand finish. The media has hyped this, the media has pushed everything into this race. And I can see where the FIA, didn't want to finish that under safety car. They wanted to get a race, a one-lap dash. Yes, people will say unfair, people will say it wasn't the right thing. But ultimately, they've got a duty to put something on, and I think where it came down to was Red Bull's strategy. Being on the back foot, on the back of that first lap move that didn't come off, they went aggressive with strategy and they had better tyres at the end to capitalise on that.
From Craig a few minutes ago, and he pointed to the fact that not all the cars unlap themselves. Should the other lap cars further at the back been ordered to unlap themselves for consistency? He said that's where Mercedes might have a chance of getting that title overturned.
Yes, the rule is not completely clear. They don't have to actually even let lapped cars go past. But it's there to enable racing to go forward. And if the FIA, which I believe they were all together on that, whether that was the stewards or Michael Masi, they did the right thing. Because when you've got a championship battle and when you are where you are, you've got to put the two guys to a fight at the end. It didn't change the race towards the back of the grid. It didn't change anything there. It didn't radically liven that up. But what it did do is it gave us what we wanted, and that's Lewis versus Max. I can completely see where Mercedes feel unfairly treated. Sometimes you've got to be very lucky. I think Red Bull were very lucky yesterday. It all fell together. I'm a believer in life. Things will always come to you at the right time as well, and there's nothing you can really do for that plan. But then if you go on the back of that, what happened in Imola, when you see Lewis Hamilton, when he went in the gravel, the raid was red flagged, he got his lap back and he was back into the race and finished P2. So there has been other points over the year where it's kind of benefited them. But listen, the two of them did an absolutely outstanding job all year, and credit to them both. I think Lewis Hamilton, when he stood and did that interview after the race, when my children were watching it, how an inspiration and how a sports brand should take it, congratulating Max. He is a warrior. He's an idol to guys growing up and an idol to the sport. And I hope we see many more of these battles between the two of them. But somebody ultimately has got to win, and it just depends where it falls into, and what's happened early in the year, I guess, has made it get to this last race.
Paul, as you mentioned there, Lewis Hamilton incredibly magnanimous and gracious in defeat yesterday, and flicking through Twitter, there was a lot of very angry people. They seemed more angry at the result than Lewis Hamilton himself, talking about being robbed and a disgrace and things like this. But Lewis Hamilton, the champion that he is he now just thinking, look, that's 2021 in the books. OK, I was unlucky, but it's now full steam ahead for 2022.
I think so. I think you have to move on from it. And if you know Lewis, he thrives under pressure. And it's the first time I saw in Lewis's eyes yesterday in that interview how much this 8th title was going to be, and I haven't seen that all year. That's one of the big things that Lewis has been very good at, is just going away step by step, doing what he can. But he will come back, and listen, he's in the form of his life. He's got a great team behind him. And there's always going to be disappointment. I feel for the FIA in the sense as well, because had that race finished under the safety car, what would people have said? Because when you look at, yes, letting those cars unlap themselves and giving that one-lap dash, I hope it's something we see in the future. And that's what happens with safety cars. It shakes things up. But, when you look at mid-race, I think what somebody parked at the side of the track and, the team principals were pushing not to have a full safety car. They had a VSC. And that helped Mercedes because it still maintained their track position. And that's when Red Bull got into them and started to go. But all the way through sport, things will go for you, that will go against you. It's about consistency over the year, and I think ultimately that's what it's come down to. I have been a fan of the sport. I love sitting watching the race yesterday. The twists and turns all the way through this championship, being part of Sky Sports. it's just been incredible. And if it's a flavour to the future, and bearing in mind the future about Formula One's all about overtaking and keeping close racing, so it's got all the ingredients to be another epic year next year.
That in mind, Paul, who's going to have the better car next year?
Well, I'm kind of hoping somebody else is going to come out and take it to Mercedes and Red Bull. You've got Ferrari, you've got other people who haven't been battling for this championship. They've put a lot of effort and a lot of emphasis onto next year's car. But I just love to see 5, 6, 7 different winners. A bit more of a battle, not so much about just two teams going against each other. There's some cracking lineups. Lando Norris in the form that he's on, alongside Daniel Ricciardo, who hopefully will get a bit of form back. You've got the Ferrari drivers who are very closely matched. You've obviously got Verstappen and Hamilton. And then you've got Fernando Alonso, who a couple of races ago showed that he's still young, enthusiastic. So, listen, a couple of months off, reset, recharge, and get back into it. But just a very special place and a very special moment for Formula One. I think what happened, and having another World Championship contender on the grid just helps that.
Yep, Formula One in rude health and lots of new fans after a thrilling season. Paul, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.